today's Republicans are claiming that Martin Luther King was a Republican, and they're putting up bulletin boards all over the South claiming that Martin Luther King was a conservative, right-wing Republican, and that he would be on the same side as Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck if he were alive today. The first thing I want to say is that's a complete lie. Coretta Scott King said her husband never belonged to any political party. All of the King children have came out and said that their father never belonged to any political party. So it's a complete lie that they're putting up bulletin boards claiming that Martin Luther King was a Republican. If you go to any right-wing blog site, they claim that liberals are to blame for slavery and segregation. Okay, let's look at the history of ideology and political party. In the 1950s, the Southern Dixiecrats were a conservative movement. Strom Thurmond was a conservative. Strom Thurmond started the conservative Dixiecrats. There's a huge difference between ideology and political party. A lot of people that don't know the difference between ideology and political party, they think all Republicans are conservative and they think all Democrats are liberal. And a lot of people that don't know the difference between ideology and political party, they keep claiming that liberals are to blame for slavery and segregation. If you go back 150 years ago, Republicans were a northern liberal party. Abraham Lincoln was liberal. And Democrats were a southern conservative movement. In the 1950s, the Democrat Party was broken in half between Southern conservative Dixiecrats and Northern liberals like Harry Truman and Kennedy. Kennedy and Strom Thurmond weren't on the same side. They had two completely different ideologies. Southern Dixiecrats were racist, segregationist conservatives. Any person that knows anything about history knows damn well that Southern Dixiecrats in the 1950s were a states' rights conservative movement. Strom Thurmond started the Southern Dixiecrats. Strom Thurmond was a conservative. George Wallace was a conservative. The racist Jesse Helms was a conservative. The racist Mills Goodwin was a conservative. So it blows me away when I see today's right-wingers going on these right-wing blog sites trying to blame liberals for slavery and segregation. It's just laughable. And like I said, Coretta Scott King said her husband never belonged to any political party. Martin Luther King was bigger than any political party. Martin Luther King wasn't about political parties. Martin Luther King was about bringing all people together, and he wasn't about playing politics. So it's a complete lie that he would be on the same side as Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh if he were alive today. He damn sure wouldn't be part of today's right-wing conservatives if he were alive today. It's just laughable. If you look at Martin Luther King's views, Martin Luther King was anti-war. Martin Luther King was anti-guns. Martin Luther King was for affirmative action. Most of Martin Luther King's views were liberal. So it blows me away when I see today's right-wingers claiming that Martin Luther King would be on their side if he were alive today. If Martin Luther King were alive today, most right-wing conservatives would be comparing him to, they would be calling him a socialist devil the same way they call Jesse Jackson and R. Stoppman. The civil rights movement has always been liberal. It's always been liberal throughout history. So for today's right-wing conservatives to claim that they started civil rights is just laughable. It's completely laughable. The only person in the King family that's claiming that Martin Luther King would be a right-wing conservative Republican today is Alveda King. That's Martin Luther King's niece. And a lot of today's right-wingers are claiming that, oh, since his niece is claiming that he was a Republican, this is proof that he's a Republican. Nobody in the King family speaks to Alveda King. Alveda King has been cut out of the King family for years for lying about Dr. King. She's been lying about Martin Luther King for years, and that's why she's been cut out of the family. Nobody in the King family even speaks to her. She doesn't speak for the King family. All the King children have denounced her for all the lies she told about Dr. King and the King family. So Alveda King does not speak for the King family. Alveda King has no association with the King family. So it blows me away when I see today's right-wingers using the sellout Alveda King to try to justify that Martin Luther King would be a Republican today if he were alive today. So it's just completely laughable. And like I said, there's a huge difference between ideology and political party. Even if Martin Luther King were a Republican, which he wasn't, even if he were a Republican in the 1950s, he damn sure wouldn't be part of today's Republican Party. The ridiculous notion that Martin Luther King would be on the same side as the racist Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck is just laughable. They're actually trying to make the ridiculous notion that Martin Luther King would be on the same side as these people if he was alive today. So it's just, like I said, it's laughable. And for the right-wingers out there that keep telling this lie that liberals started slavery and segregation, that's just, it's completely ridiculous. Any person that has a 5th grade education knows damn well Southern Dixiecrats were conservative. Southern Dixiecrats were a states' rights conservative movement. They were a states' rights conservative movement. They started Jim Crow laws. They started slavery. They started all of these racist laws throughout history. So for anybody to claim that liberals started all this, it's just laughable. Everybody knows this. So for today's right-wing conservatives to try to rewrite history, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't rewrite history when you know the history has already been written. Everybody knows Southern conservatives were behind segregation and were behind slavery. So I think us as black people, we need to speak up against the lies against our civil rights leaders. We need to speak up and let our voices be heard.